everybody. Today we're going to be building the Auskwads monster frame. This is a very unique frame designed by Auskwads. It is designed to be a toilet tank or saddle mount battery. So you've got your arms. This will be your bottom plate, and this will be the middle plate. And once it's together, you have some TPU printed parts. The STL files come with this, so the rear mounts there, front mounts here, and that gives you the battery in the center. That gets your center of gravity extremely low. Should handle extremely well. That should give you some really tight snap rolls, keeps everything nice and tight, nice and low. So I'm going to be using the Grinder 2 2207 2500 kV motors. I went ahead last night and soldered on my race lights that Diatone sent me. These are the Flashbang SW601s. So I went ahead and did that and got that part out of the way. So first things first, we need to get all of the motors mounted to the arms. So we will do that now. Then I will go over wire management and how to properly run it. With the saddle mount, the way it is, you mount your ESC and FC in the rear, and this is set up for 30 by 30 or 20 by 20 stacks. Then on the front, you also have 30 by 30 or 20 by 20 mount patterns. That way, in case you want to mount your VTX up front, you can separate that and keep a nice low profile. So that's what I'm going to try to do with it. I'm going to be using the Rush Tank VTX. I've got the Mamba F722S FC with the F50 Pro ESC. This is a 50 amp ESC, 3 to 6 cell, and Foxeer Falcor 2 camera. Those are my go-to cameras now. And then Foxeer Lollipop 3 stubbies, that would be for the antenna, and XM Plus. So I'll get started mounting the motors on all the arms, and we will start throwing it together, and I'll show you the layout of everything. If you're curious about the frame, definitely check out Auskwads.com. You can order it there, and we have a Facebook group, Auskwads, AUSKWADZ. So definitely check him out. Corey is the brainchild behind this design, and this is his baby, and he did a fantastic job on it. It is one of the most unique looking frames I've seen. I actually won mine in a contest they had. I was fortunate enough to get it that way, but I plan on ordering a second frame soon. I fly 4S and 5S on everything. I haven't jumped up to 6S yet, but I plan on ordering a second frame to make a 6S monster. I think that'll be pretty badass. It is a little bit heavier of a frame, but watching their videos, it doesn't look like the weight bothers it at all. They said they haven't broke anything yet. It's supposed to be a tank of a frame, so alright, so there's all the motors. I will put some double-sided tape right here just to tack down the race lights. Now, it is kind of tricky once you start putting it together to get the wire management right, because in between the plates you have to run the wire. There is a small gap in between the two arms right here. That is where I'm going to run my wiring. It'll all go through the center here, and then I will bring it back to the flight controller. I'll be mounting it right there. So let me grab my flight controller. I will get it pulled apart and separate the flight controller from the speed controller and start mounting it up. Okay, so I started dry fitting the components to it. This is actually your middle plate. This is the bottom plate, the arms sandwiched between those. So the way the diatone stack comes, it has the bolts going down through for you to bolt it to the bottom. I found it's easier to run them up to the top. That way I can mount the ESC, get the wiring and everything done, then I can throw the flight controller on top of it. So if you can see, I had to remove some of the little rubber standoffs or bumpers, whatever you want to call them. I put 2 on the bottom, then the flight controller on top, then 1 spacer in between, and then the flight controller up there. And then once I sandwich it down just a little bit, I'll be able to get nuts right on top of it. So now I will pull this apart since I've got it dry fit and everything looks good. Nothing is touching the carbon fiber. I'll pull it apart and tin all of my connections. I'll go ahead and get my battery lead on and get that done. Then we will start assembling it. I went ahead and soldered my battery leads on and tinned the pads for the ESC. I did that off camera. I'm horrible at soldering. I am not a person to get soldering advice from, so there are plenty of videos out there that show proper techniques and how to solder. I have a hard time soldering larger gauge wire for some reason. You give me a tiny whoop, anything micro, and I can solder better than most. But when it comes to larger shit, I have issues. So I did that off camera. But, so I went ahead and just left all my battery leads extremely long. That way I can trim them once it's together and figure out how long I need them. So the ESC mounts here. I went ahead and mounted the 2 back arms. So these, I will just take these down with double-sided tape and then run these motor wires directly to the rear ESCs. The fronts are a little trickier. I want to run them internally. So let's see. So once it's together, it's like this. But I'm going to run my ESC wires in between the stacks and come up right here, then solder onto the ESC. So this is a bit of a pain to do. I've got this handy little tool. This came in a soldering kit that I got from Radio Shack 15 years ago. It's got a nice little curved tip to it, perfect for pulling wires. So I'm set. Alright, so there's the 3 motor wires for 1 front motor. Now I will run them in between the arms. You could run them up in the front and run them back, however you wish to do it. Okay, so there's that. In the kit, whenever you get the frame, it'll come with standoffs. Comes with these, I'm not sure what millimeter they are, these smaller standoffs, and a bunch of different screws. You've got longer ones that go in the perimeter. That way, whenever you go to mount your TPU parts on, they run through. Then you've got 4 shorter ones that go right here in the middle. Since you're mounting a center mount battery, you don't want your screw sticking up through. I've built this before, that's why this box is a mess and everything's just laying loose. When you get it, everything will come in bags, nice, neat, packaged nicely. I had some issues the first time I built it. I was using Zing 2208 2450s and a Mamba F405 stack, and I had a vibration that I could not get worked out. I updated it to JESC and put RPM filtering on it, tried that, had no luck at all. So I know the frame flies fantastic on 4S. I've watched Corey's videos and a few others that have them, but I just couldn't get it to work with that setup. I yanked the motors off and the stack, threw it in a Korea Talon, and it flies great. So there was something there that just wasn't jiving, so that's the whole reason I'm rebuilding it now with the bot grinder motors and the F7 ESC. So we've got that one done now. Now let's get the other front motor. Alright, so I will get my double-sided tape out and secure my race lights. I will get the ESC mounted and get it soldered up. Then we'll come back and look at the TPU mounts and how they go on. Okay, so I've got the motors soldered to the ESCs. Got all the wires ran just like I want them. I'm using a XM Plus receiver, so I had some longer wire. I went ahead and soldered it up. I ran it through the center and I came out and went in between the front and rear motor to get it to the flight controller. So once I get it bound, I'll put a piece of shrink tube over this, tuck it back inside, and my antennas will be out the back. Now I'm working on getting the camera wire ran. So I went back and forth on, do I mount the VTX up front or in the back? I'm just going to mount it in the back. It's easier that way, but I still have to run the camera wire to the flight controller, so I have my OSD through Betaflight. So this is one of the wires that came with the Falcor. I will run it through. That's right there at it. Okay, so I'm going to replace these with the green once they're done, but just to keep the build going, I'll show you what I'm going to do. So you have to drill a couple holes in the side to run your camera mount screws. So once I get that in, I will mount the camera in, mount it up, and hopefully that will be enough wire. If not, I'll have to solder an extension or something onto it. So, alright, now that the VTX is wired in, the camera wire is ran in between the two plates, everything's ready now to mount up the TPU printed parts. So on this mount, you have to drill a couple holes to run your camera bolts through your camera screws. So this is my old mount. I've already done it. So we'll go ahead and mount in the Foxeer Falcor. right, now I will be using these standoffs. Did I lose one? So I'll be using these short standoffs on the front and rear. I believe they are 10 millimeter. Then I'll use the taller 20 millimeter standoffs for the two center, or four center ones. Okay, got some small standoff screws. Now this is a very customizable build. You can do this really however you want. If you had a smaller camera, went with a micro camera, if you can see, my camera sticks out of the bottom of the mount just a little bit, so that's the whole reason I'm using the standoffs. If you had a smaller camera, you could put this directly down and use the smaller standoffs in the rear. Okay, now we have the antenna for the Rush VTX. They supply a little rubber grommet that goes on, and that's supposed to keep it clipped in. I remember now. So with the Rush VTX, I need to take off this one nut. That way the wire can run alongside of it and not be in a bind. There we go. And put that on, and that will help secure it. Keep it from popping out. Okay, so here's the rear mount. We'll do it just like we did the front one. Now we feed the SMA connector. And there she is. That is the Auskwads Monster. That is the way I've built it. There are multiple configurations you can use for this. I may end up dropping this down and putting the smaller standoffs right here. I don't see the point in needing it up that high. Yeah, I'm definitely going to do that once the green one gets printed. But there it is for now. Now to solder my XT60 on and plug it in to Betaflight and get it all set up. So hopefully here within the next day or two I will be able to maiden it, see how it goes. I'm looking forward to trying out these Grinder 2 motors. I really like them. I hope they fly well. So thanks for tuning in, guys. If you have any questions, comments about this, definitely let me know. I will try to answer anything that I can. Check out Auskwads on Facebook, AUSKWADS. We are on Discord. We have a Discord group too, if you wish to join it. But if you're looking for one of these frames, check out Auskwads.com. They are really killer. I think you'll like them. So thanks for tuning in and watching.